In this video, I'm going to go through the 10 questions on our assignment that is called factoring, solving equations using factoring. That's assignment number 107B. So the first question says, to solve this equation, now to solve an equation using factoring, there's 4 things you have to do. The first thing is to make the equation equal to 0. It's done. Second step is to make sure that the expression on the left is factored completely. This is factored completely, right? This is already, that can't be factored anymore, that can't be factored. They're all factored. So the third step is to set each factor equal to 0. And then the fourth step is to solve each of these equations to find the values of x that make this true. So in that one, I'm going to divide both sides by 2 and get x equals 0. In this one, I'm going to add 6 to both sides to get x equals 6. And in this one, I'm going to do plus 2, and then divide by 3 and get x equals 2/3. So my answers to question number 1 are 0, 6, and 2/3. You can write the answers like I have them here, and another way to write them is to put x equals and then do a squiggle bracket and list them. I like to list them in order from lowest to highest, but that's not required. All right, question number 2 wants us to solve the equation using factoring. So step 1, make sure it's equal to 0. It is. Step 2, factor it completely. Well, that can't be factored, that can't be factored, but this can be factored, right? So I'm just going to bring these factors down. This can be factored. There's no GCF, but it is a difference of 2 squares, right? X squared minus 1 can be written as x plus 1, x minus 1. Difference of 2 squares has a minus sign, and everything involved is a perfect square, and it's a binomial. So all those things are true. So now this is factored completely. Now we're going to set each of these factors equal to 0. So negative 2 equals 0, x minus 7 equals 0, x plus 1 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. Now we're going to solve each of these equations. That's our last step here. Negative 2 equals 0. That's not an equation that can be solved. That's not even true. So I'm going to cross off the equal sign. I'm going to reject that as a solution. But all the other ones will be solutions. I'm going to do plus 7 here and get x equals 7. I'm going to do minus 1 here and get x equals negative 1. And I'm going to do plus 1 here and get x equals 1. So my solutions to this problem are x equals 7, x equals negative 1, and x equals positive 1. Question number 3 wants us to solve this equation by factoring. First step, make sure it's equal to 0. That is not equal to 0, so I'm going to do plus 2x to both sides. And I'm going to get x squared minus 3x equals 0. Now it's equal to 0. Next step, factor completely. This has a GCF. Let's factor it out. It's x. And when I factor out an x, what's left over is x minus 3. Just double check. If I distribute that, I get x squared and minus 3x. So that works. Next step, set each factor equal to 0. So for that one, x equals 0. And for this one, x minus 3 equals 0. And then the last step, solve each equation. Well, that one's already solved. And this one, I'm just going to do plus 3 and get x equals 3. So my answer to number 3 is x equals 0 and x equals 3. All right, number 4, solve using factoring. 4x squared minus 10 equals negative 9. Let's get it equal to 0 by doing plus 9 to both sides. And we're going to get 4x squared minus 1 equals 0. Next step, factor completely. There's no GCF between those two numbers or between the variables. But this is a difference of two squares, right? 4 is a perfect square, x squared is a perfect square, and 1 is a perfect square. So that will factor out to be 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 1. Next step, set each factor equal to 0. And then last step, solve both of these equations. Minus 1, divide by 2, and x is negative a half. And then our other solution is going to look very similar to that. That would be 2x equals positive 1, x equals positive 1/2. Now this one actually has a third way you can write it. We can write it like this for our answer, or we can write it with our little brackets here like this. There's another way you can write it, and it looks like this, plus or minus 1/2. These are all the ways you can write this as these answers here. Many of them are acceptable. All right, question number 5. Solve the quadratic by factoring. 5x squared plus 1 equals negative 13x minus 5. Well, that's definitely not equal to 0, so let's move some stuff around. Let's do plus 13x and plus 5 here. So 5x squared plus 13x. When I move the 5 over here, there's already a positive 1, so I'm going to combine like terms and get plus 6. And now it's equal to 0. Step 2, let's factor completely. There is not a GCF between those terms. This is not a difference of two squares. It is a trinomial, so it's probably going to be factored using trinomial factoring. I'm going to try 5x and x. It's the only way to multiply to get 5x squared. For 6, there's only 2 ways to multiply to get 6, and that's 6 and 1 and 3 and 2. And if I need them to add up to 13, then let's do 5 times 2 plus 3. So let's put the 2 here and the 3 here. 5x times 2 is 10x. 3 times x is 3x. 5x squared plus 13x plus 6. So my two factors here are 5x plus 3 and x plus 2. So it's equal to 0. We factored it completely. Now we're going to set each factor equal to 0. And then we're going to solve these equations. Let's do minus 3 to get 5x equals negative 3. Divide by 5 and get x equals negative 3/5 for this answer. And for this one, a little simpler, x equals negative 2. So there's our answer for number 5. Number 6, solve using factoring. X squared plus 9x equals 0. Wow, that one's already equal to 0. So all I have to do is GCF factor, it looks like. GCF of both of those terms is x. And then I just set each of these terms equal to 0. That one's already done. And this one's going to be negative 9. That one was a lot simpler than the last one. Number 7. Solve the quadratic by factoring. 4x squared minus 4x equals negative 4x plus 1. Let's make it equal to 0. Let's do plus 4x and minus 1 to both sides. Plus 4x and minus 1 to both sides. Oh, interesting. These will cancel and these will cancel. They'll be left with 0 here. But this 4x and this negative 4x will also cancel. The only thing left over here is 4x squared minus 1 equals 0. We've already done this problem, right? Yeah, 4x squared minus 1. Where is it? Yeah, 4x squared minus 1 right there. We've already done this problem, so we already know the answer. I'll copy it down just to be complete. I would factor that by doing 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 1. And 2x plus 1 is equal to 0, and 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. X is going to be negative a half here, and X is going to be positive a half here. And there we go. All right, let's do number 8. Number 8, solve the quadratic using factoring. Let's get all the variables and all the numbers over on the left here. Let's do minus 7x and plus 1. We're going to get 3x squared minus 7x plus 4 equals 0. Let's factor this completely. This is a trinomial. There's not a GCF. I saw 3 and 7 right away, and I knew that there wasn't going to be a GCF. There's only 2 ways to multiply by 4, and that's 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. But they need to add up to be a negative, so that means that they all need to be negative. Right? The only way to multiply to get a positive is if they are all the same sign. So anyway, for them to add up to negative 7, 4 and 4 times 3 is 12, so we don't want that. 4 times 1 plus 3 more would be 7, so there we go. So let's put the negative 4 here and the negative 1 here. 4 times 1 is 4, positive. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x, and 3x times 1 is negative 3x. So 3x squared minus 7x plus 4. Our factors are 3x minus 4 and x minus 1. Let's set each one equal to 0. And this one's going to be 4/3 positive. And this one's going to be x equals 1 positive. Here's the answer to number 8. Number 9, solve using factoring. X squared plus 4x plus 1 equals 6. Let's move that 6 and get x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. Let's do trinomial factoring here. X and x. There's only, negative 5. So it's going to be negative 5 and 1, or 1, negative 1 and 5. I need more positives than negatives, so I'm going to use the positive 5 and the negative 1. That'd be negative x, that'd be positive 5x. That would work out. So my factors are x plus 5 and x minus 1. And when I set each of those equal to 0, this one would be negative 5, and this one would be 1, positive. And finally, our last question for all these examples today. Solve by factoring 5x squared minus x minus 4 equals negative 9x. Let's move that negative 9x over there and get 5x squared plus 8x minus 4 equals 0, right? 9x minus 1x would be 8x positive. Again, I see a 5 and an 8 and a 4. There's no GCF there. This is another trinomial that needs to be factored. I need 2 numbers that multiply to negative 4. So negative 4 and 1. Negative 1 and 4, or 2 and negative 2, and I need them to add up to a positive 8. So I'm going to put this 2 with this 5, so I would get 10 positives, and then a negative 2 here. So 5x times x is 5x squared, 2 times x negative would be negative 2x, and 5 times 2 is 10x. That works out to be a positive 8x, and that works out to be a negative 4. So our factors are 5x minus 2 and x plus 2 equals 0. Let's set each of those equal to 0. And this one's going to be x is 2/5. And this one's going to be x is negative 2. So there we go, all 10 examples. If you have any questions, please reach out through email or ask me next time you see me in school. That's all. Thanks for watching.